Hey everyone, it's Stephen. So in my last video, I was talking about consciousness and thinking about how that is related to your conscience, to your this moral aspect, and that our consciousness is more of a moral action than we think. We downplay the idea of an ultimate morality in our lives. And I think it's a loss of a sort of religious aspect, a communal aspect. When you're doing things on your own, they don't have a lot of impact on others, then the moral implication of your actions lessens. If you don't recognize that your actions have implications on others, then you can absolve yourself of the moral aspect of the action. That sounds familiar. And but I think that I think they do. I think there is a moral being that's involved in our relationship with consciousness, or our consciousness is a relationship with that moral being, or there's more of an interactive. We think of we are in our consciousness is on our heads and we own it. But if our actions have implications on others, then the consciousness is affected. Their conscience is part of consciousness, and your conscience is affected by how you treat others. Then we see the consciousness is not entirely within ourselves. So thinking about that more, I was thinking that it also has implications on free will, right? So we have free will. We can choose what we want to do. Those choices have moral implications in a very similar way to the way that consciousness does. And consciousness seems to be unique to humans, although, maybe higher mammals, or maybe, I don't know, but yeah, maybe there's more there than I'm thinking. But free will seems to be a human thing. I think we think that free will, obviously, but maybe sort of in the same gray area that, well, maybe some animals have free will. The dog can make a sort of a decision, almost looks reflective. Is it? Maybe not. Maybe yes. I think we're in that space, right? We're in that space of considering. But in any case, perhaps does the dog have free will? Does the dog have consciousness? Are in many ways the same question. If that's true, and the previous thesis on the previous video that your conscience, this moral activity, is involved in a relationship with you and this moral agent in consciousness, then why would that not be also true in free will? That the decisions you make, because of their implications on others, or because of their implications to God, if you have a religion, to the gods or God of your religion, that maybe your free will of making decisions and the consciousness space that you make those free will decisions in. So free will is a sort of a higher form of decision making, and consciousness is sort of a higher form of deciding how to act, the reflective aspect. And if so, those seem very related. And so, if this idea of conscience, of this moral aspect, there isn't a moral agent involved in that, then your decision making is more influenced by an outside agent than you realize, right? Because we have this moral agent that's creating the conscious space through your interrelationship of your decision making with the moral agent, and free will is having the same. Maybe free will and consciousness are really the same thing. are really the same, maybe different aspects of the same entity. So I was reading last night late, Ivan Kirevsky, Kire apostrophe Evsky. He was one of these guys I was telling you about yesterday that came after Peter Chadaev, Chadaev, and he was influenced. He was a Russian thinker that was one of the Sophiologists, one of the that was positing the Divine Sophia was especially in the Russian people in their Christian religion. So this pro-Russian interior religious aspect, the religion of the non European influenced Russians was a sort of ideal. Religion is action, is society, and it's all one truth. So anyway, so Kirevsky really did. He complained a lot about European society and when idealizing the Russian society. But he, after he died, some 20 or 30 years, I think, after he died, some other Russian thinker was going through the remains of what was in his office. I think maybe they were boxed up. He was going through the remains, and they published a book of what's called Fragments. And so the Fragments of Kirev, and he was a big deal. He wasn't as well known as some of the other Sophiologists, Bulgakov and Solovkov and Solovyov and others, but Kirevsky, I think, should have been. He was, I think, a more pure, a more distilled thought of those guys. But anyway, so in these, he published this book of these little remnants, right? These little pieces of thought of Kirev, removed from the stacks of stuff that you can imagine in his office. And the very last one that was published, the very last one of these Kirevian little snippets, says this. It says, our world of free will, its truth is based in the world of moral action, a world of morality. And what he surely meant by that was that our actions are more influenced by God than we realize, and even our free will is more influenced by this moral agent, right? So the world of free will is has its truth in the world of morality. So I thought that was interesting because I've been thinking about that all day, and I open a book and it's like that. Oh wow. And to have it be a Russian thinker after the one I was talking about with Chadaev that sort of began this inquiry. So there you have it. Free will seems to be tied in with our consciousness, and both of those things seem to be in interaction with a moral agent, causing a morality based shade to our actions, or a moral based aspect to our actions that we aren't normally aware of, because we don't think that way anymore, and we don't hold those things to heart the way that we used to. So that's it for today. Thanks.